Joining me now is Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. Senator Klobuchar, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here with me. And I know your state has been through so much, not just this week, but in the last several years. And I just want to remind people of the things that you have been through as a community and as a state. I mean, it was just 5 years ago, the murder of George Floyd, of course, the assassination of your friend Melissa Hortman, the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church, and now, of course, the killing of Renee Nicole Good. You are a very strong person. I know that. But how are you holding up? And how are the people of Minneapolis and Minnesota holding up?
I have been really focused on my state because we are once again the center of America's heartbreak. And my state is this state that cares for the people. They are there. You could see that doctor coming up to help, and they are resilient. And so what we have all, I met with the mayor and the police chief today at length, and they're saying we just have to continue to be the Minnesota that we are, not take the bait that we're hearing from the White House, and mourn the loss of this wonderful woman who, in the words of her wife, just radiated kindness and sparkle, that she was someone who rejected hate, and in the words of her wife, was someone that embraced compassion. And so that's what we are doing right now. But this, when you dissected that video, it was just chilling. And that is why I have called for an independent, transparent investigation like we have always done in our state, where state, local, and federal officials have combine their knowledge, and that includes the Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman murders, as well as the Annunciation Church with the young little kids being gunned down in those pews. People coordinated and worked together and for the good of the state. And this time, this morning, yesterday, we got the shocking news that the FBI was rejecting the professional help from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension.
It's really unbelievable. And you have so much legal expertise, which I was just talking about with Chris Hayes. And I want to get there. I just want to start because one of the things that's make this so challenging and heartbreaking and really disgusting, I would say, is how the Trump administration is handling this and how they are speaking about this woman who lost her life at the hands of an ICE officer just a couple of days ago. I just mentioned this new video released today that the political right has seized on to claim vindication for the officer. And J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, a Yale-educated lawyer, I should just remind people, who should obviously know better, tweeted the video today saying, the reality is that his life was endangered and he fired in self-defense. We just played that video. I would guess you'd seen it earlier. What do you make of the vice president saying that or tweeting that today and how he's been handling it?
I just know he knows better. And when you look at all the facts, for him to say this when his own FBI is now investigating this without looking himself at what a lot of people see when they see this, and to make it worse, the words from the administration that this mom of three who clearly loved life was some kind of a domestic terrorist is just simply outrageous. And so that is why we are calling for calm. So far, we had a beautiful vigil today outside of the Capitol with religious groups. And so people are, of course, very angry, but they're trying to put it into good. And we must have an investigation and get at all the facts and combine all of these videos. As you know, there are many, and get the facts and interview the witnesses at the scene and what was going into this. Because right now, and why is this not happening? Well, because this administration is literally sending ICE agents that are making our community less safe. By the numbers, according to our well-respected Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara, there are now more ICE agents in Minnesota than there are police officers, combined Minneapolis Police Force and St. Paul Police Force. So they are outnumbering our own local police officers out on the streets. They have picked up people who are legal, who have passports, who are yelling, I have a passport, I have a passport, look at my phone, I have a passport, and this is just got to stop.
The mayor of Minneapolis, as Jacob Frey, has been out there passionately over the last couple of days. He's obviously heartbroken, as you are, and he said, I should get out of our city. The lieutenant governor has said ICE should leave. Do you want ICE to leave Minnesota?
Well, this surge that they have created is clearly making our community unsafe. Ask the family of Renee Good. ICE, when it does its job, would be working in coordination with our police to apprehend violent offenders. That is not what went on, not only in the killing of Renee Good, but in several other instances in our state. So this is becoming just a tinderbox, and the president just seems to be adding fuel to make it worse.
One of the things that's been so
like I said, if their job should be to go after violent offenders and to do their jobs, but instead you can just see all of them on that peaceful street, and what they did. Again, it's got to be an independent investigation. Sorry, what were you going to say, Jen?
No, I want to get to the independent investigation, too, because that feels challenging without all of the information the FBI is withholding. But on on ICE, we talked about this a little bit last night. They went to a Minneapolis high school, as you well know, the next day and essentially terrorized people there. Gregory Bovino was there. They don't seem to be stepping back. They seem to be accelerating. There are a lot of questions about what can be done to pull them back. They don't seem receptive to being asked to leave. One of the questions out there is what should be done about their funding? And your colleague, Senator Chris Murphy, has proposed that this should be a part of the budget discussions that are coming up with the deadline of January 30th. Do you think there should be restrictions put in place in order for them to get funding? Should that be a part of what's discussed and debated?
Well, you know, a budget is the values of a country. And so, of course, there should be policy discussions when we look at that funding. What just happened was they put billions of more dollars from the big, beautiful bill into ICE, which was a Republican-only piece of legislation. They actually reduced the days of training for ICE officers. I think it was down to 47, which the president wanted because of his years of being president. As President 47. And think about that. They reduced the training, added a bunch of more money, and then instead of focusing their efforts on violent offenders, they are surging into these cities and ending up in situations, horrific tragedies like we saw yesterday. So, of course, there should be a discussion. There should be reform of what's going on here. And I know that Senator Murphy is the ranking Democrat on that subcommittee, and he is going to be putting forth some ideas.
But do you, your voice is incredibly powerful. You're a member of leadership. You have a very powerful voice in the Senate, and also you're from a state that's just been impacted. Are you going to be an advocate for this being a part of the discussions and debate leading up to January?
Yes, I have advocated reform to ICE in the past, and right now the way this is being abused by the president, fed on by the funding, they wouldn't put the funding in to extend the health care tax credits, and they wouldn't help work with us. We now have a change over in the House with Republicans finally seeing the horror of what they did, but instead they did this. So, of course, that should be a big part of the discussion as we move forward. But right now, I have to say, Jen, when you're right here in the middle of this, and you're just trying to talk to people and say, let's be peaceful, despite how much fuel Donald Trump and his friends are trying to spread in this situation, and you're meeting with the police chief. Right now, my focus is on my state and what we're doing here in Minnesota to try to reduce the tension, because the best way to reduce the tension is for them to leave so we can go back to a balance in our police force with our citizens, instead of having these ICE officers on high schools and questioning teachers' aides and then detaining them and letting them go. The schools have been closed because of it. And that is the kind of thing that we're seeing right now that is rocking our community.
I know it is, and you have so many things that sit on your shoulders when tragedies like this happen in your state. Let me ask you to put your old Hennepin County attorney hat on here, because the DOJ and the FBI, the FBI is not providing them with, as you said this at the outset, with the information that they would need to do an investigation. They just announced a new investigation today, the State Attorney General and the Hennepin County Attorney. Can they do a thorough investigation? You've sat in those shoes before, without access to that information that the FBI is refusing to share?
Well, first of all, we have not closed the door to keep pushing the FBI to share. I do that based on the local relationship that we've established for years and some of the people that work there. Senator Smith and I, Tina Smith and I, sent a letter early this morning to the Department of Justice asking them to reconsider, to share this information with the locals, and to allow the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which has much expertise, to work with them as they had already agreed to before this announcement was made. They had done their work together. They were going to do it again. And then the Trump DOJ cut off the access. So that's my first goal, is to try to make this work as a joint investigation again. That would be the best thing for everyone. But in the absence of that, you've seen our Attorney General, Keith Ellison, and our county attorney join together to say they are going to try to conduct their own investigation. Now, there are plenty of videos that are public and available that they can look at, and I'm sure they'll be finding ways to get the information they need. But I think they would tell you right now that is not the ideal situation. But given that they have been, our state has been cut off from investigation of a killing of a woman in our streets, of course they're going to find a way to look at this.
Which I think is the right thing to do. I think anyone out there, they're just almost in an untenable, challenging position. Before I let you go, and I will let you go soon, I know you got a lot on your shoulders. I know you've said you're giving serious consideration to the decision about whether to run for governor. And I just wonder, I know you're not going to tell me. You can tell me if you're going to run here. Of course, you're welcome to. But I just wonder,
right here on your show?
Yes, that's right. I just wonder, I'm more interested in how the events of the past few days have kind of affected your thinking about that and the kind of leadership your state needs. I mean, I saw you getting emotional, understandably, because you have a big heart. How does all of the events of this week weigh on you as you think about that?
Well, thanks, Jen. And I am, of course, considering this seriously. I love my job, and I love the work I do in the Senate, but I also love my state. And as I said, we have been the center of America's heartbreak with everything that's happened this year. And what I see is these incredible, resilient people who are trying to do the right thing every single day. And of course, that weighs on me as I look at this decision. And again, Minnesota, through all of this, has remained the state of these just wonderful people. Who there's a reason that those neighbors all ran to the scene and ran to what was clearly danger to try to help, and they're getting yelled at. A doctor trying to get in there to save the day, and a police chief trying to calm everyone down against the odds and believing in our state enough to do that. And, that would motivate anyone.
Certainly. Watching all of those people this week has just been a reminder to all of us of the tremendous humanity and wonderful qualities of the people of Minnesota and this country. Senator Amy Klobuchar, you are always a reminder that people can both be tough as nails and have a huge heart. Thank you so much for being here and speaking with us about all of this tonight.